Okay, we're all set.
Okay. Have your attention, I'd like to call together the Personnel Committee meeting for the Washington County Board of Supervisors for February 13th, 2025. First thing is the accept the minutes. We have a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Dave, seconded by James. We have a discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, now we're gonna go to the staffing straight back for request information. No. Danielle. Please.
Okay, so we have straight backfill request. First from aging. There were 2 aging services aide per diem positions. One vacated due to a move to a part-time position and the other due to a resignation. For public safety, we had 2 communication officers leave, one due to a resignation and one due to a retirement. For the sewer district, excuse me. A pumping station sewer maintenance worker vacated due to a resignation, which then a cascade followed that. So a sewer maintenance worker was promoted up to that position and a laborer was promoted up to the sewer maintenance worker, which now we have a vacant laborer position. For social services, there was a caseworker vacate due to a resignation and a senior typist vacate due to a retirement.
Thank you. Are there any questions on any of the backfill requests? Seeing none, we'll move on.
The senior
I'm sorry, Jim.
typist, says ask for senior clerk.
Yes, we'll get down below. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the statute pattern found by grading some schedules, please.
So county attorney had a request moved from government ops. It's a staffing pattern change and also an exempt salary schedule addition. The ask was to remove 1 assistant county attorney and add 1 supervising assistant county attorney. The rate of pay difference would be around $9,000.
Dan, you want to comment on that?
Yes, there's breakage to cover the difference in the salary for this year. There will be basically 9,100 will be a budget addition for next year.
And we need a motion to move that to finance? Is that correct? By Dave, second by Jim. Is there any discussion? Any questions? I think it's moved to us from government ops, if I remember right. So, okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next item is for DPW. This is due to a reclassification of the position. When I spoke to Deb, we found out that this person was doing welder fabricator work the entire time, but his primary position was a heavy equipment mechanic. So when the person went out for vacation, he would be paid at the lower level, where the rest of the time as he was working, he was actually welder fabricator. So we're reclassifying that to have him be a welder fabricator as his primary position.
We need to move that to finance, because we're going to be adjusting the salary. I mean, if he was one and paid in another, is there anything, is there differential?
No, I don't think we.
No, what's your thoughts?
No, we're good. We have enough money to cover it for 25. It'll just be a little bit of a new cost for 26.
Okay. So do we have a motion to move the staff and pattern change? Moved by James, seconded by Jay. We have any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried.
The next is the Fire Bureau. This was moved from public safety. It's actually my recommendation of a staffing pattern change to allow public safety to hire either a fire investigator or a fire investigator trainee, kind of put them on one line of the staffing pattern so they can kind of hire who they need. At that point in time, it makes it a little easier so they don't have to come back to committee every time they want to hire a trainee versus an investigator. And they would know to budget their need for that.
So we don't need to move that to finance then because the money's already in the budget. That's what you're saying?
Right.
Do we have a motion to move the staff and pattern change? Fire Bureau? Dave, do we have a second? Charles? Mr. Tall? Yes.
We may have to have a side conversation outside of the committee for an internal process. because it will matter when we switch to position budgeting. I can't have an either or, I'm gonna need an actual position. I can do that after, so that's something we can discuss internally through the process.
Okay, got it.
You go ahead with your
We have
motion.
a few notes.
We'll have to talk
Yep,
about it.
yep.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried.
So the next item's from Public Health. It was moved from Health and Human Services. So Tina wants to make couple staffing pattern changes and title by grade adjustments. So she's asking for a removal of a public health educator and add a public health program and emergency preparedness coordinator. And to actually add that position to the title by grade schedule. And this was due to someone vacating the position as the public health. It's a really long title, Public Health Preparedness Coordinator / Infection Control position. And she's kind of revamping the department and different duties for different positions.
Yeah, if I remember, right, I think she was going to make this one and the next one to
Yes,
get her back in line where she really needs to be at this point in time based on
yes.
personnel.
Yep. So that's those two. So the other staffing pattern change is to remove the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator / Infection Control and add one Infection Control Communicable Disease Coordinator, which in turn would, we would need to remove that one position and add the one to the title by grade schedule.
Okay, so we anticipate any financial changes because of that?
She did say there was a little bit. So it will result in a savings of approximately $1,300.
Okay,
We're going from a 29 to a 32 and we're saving, I realize there's gonna be breakage there, probably. Isn't that what we're doing? Am I reading that correctly? We're going from a grade 16 to a grade 8?
Yeah, it is going up. But right now, she said it'd be a $1,300 savings due to, I think, the
An empty
retirement
position.
of the individual, the person who left, the longevity and that ends
Okay.
up being the breakage for
Okay. I'm just trying to coordinate the numbers.
Savings
Gotcha.
this year.
this year's savings, yes.
so is there any further discussion on that? Charles?
The question on the savings are always including all the associated costs as well, the NICER contribution, or is it just the
Salary and fringe.
salary only or? is it-
Salary and fringe.
Thank you.
So is there still for discussion, can I get a motion to move both else together? Dave? Second. Jim? Charlie? Is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Carried.
The next item was for public safety. It was, excuse me, actually moved from public safety. It's a staffing pattern change to add one temporary communication officer to the staffing pattern to overlap and train due to a retirement. And it's looking to sunset after that retirement.
So, by Dave. Seconded by Jay. So do we have, is it going to be, so it's going to be an additional position, they have the money.
Temporary.
They have the money for it now, we need to take that to finance.
It doesn't need to go.
It doesn't need to go to finance, okay. So we have a motion, we had a motion, is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Yep, sorry,
I just
Melissa.
had one question. So you have two vacancies though, right? You had two people, or they had two people, the one resigned, one retired. One left 128. Did we already fill that position? I'm just wondering, do we really have to add to the staffing pattern since we have a vacancy that just occurred? Or,
I would have to check with him. He was working to fill that one.
okay, so you
I
think we're
know
still?
that. I think
Okay.
we still need it for that, the retirement.
For training purposes.
For training, that's what I thought.
So
Well,
we'll
for training, because the training takes so long.
Right, but if we didn't fill the one that was vacated January 28th, you know, sometimes we have a difficulty.
I'm
Filling
pretty sure
position.
he's
I didn't
in
know if we
that,
still had to
yeah,
add
he's in
another
that
one.
process
Okay.
of filling that one.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Melissa, vote, we comfortable with that? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next item, for social services, it's the staffing pattern change to remove a senior typist and add one senior clerk. This is due to the retirement of the senior clerk. We actually changed the position for any typist position. We've done away with the typist portion of the exam, so now we consider them senior clerk instead of senior. So we just made that change.
Second.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Dave. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next item is for youth. It was moved from Health and Human Services. It was just to add the youth intern to the title grade schedule. We did add this position during budgeting. So now she's looking to fill it and we actually have to add it to the title grade.
So moved.
Moved by David, do we have a second?
Secretary of
I
Finance.
think that one goes to finance.
It does. Yeah.
I moved to finance.
Moved
Didn't
by
hear me.
by Dave, yes. Seconded by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried. Who's working on the privilege team? One handbook pages.
So in your packet is the first handbook change, section 6.003, and we just noticed it, some things needed to be updated. So for the first paragraph, we just wanted to remove for all non-job related toll calls, the employee must use a payphone. For the item below that, about having visitors, we did want to remove that section, but it can be up for discussion.
Well, I guess I'll start off by discussing it. So if they have visitors, it's clear that those visitors will not be at their desk, they'd be in the break area, so they're not distracting other employees. Do we need to put something there about that, or how should we?
We can
How
put
can we handle
something there, but I think it's mostly up to the department head.
That was my thought process, was that the departments manage their office areas, their departments, so I would think they wouldn't allow employees to have visitors in and just kind of hang out. They're gonna manage that area, so I just don't know that it has to be in the handbook. I think you should just leave that to the departments to manage.
It is pretty department specific. You can't, there's not one rule that really fits everyone.
No, right. Right, yeah, that's fine with me. I just want to make sure we address that, so when the employee A starts complaining because they can't go to work because the employee B has someone at their desk talking, distracting them.
We have a reporting mechanism internally that can be addressed. So.
Yeah. Okay, I'm fine with that. That was just my 2 cents. Does anyone else have anything? Dave, that's okay, well, so motion to make that change? Jim? Charlie, the second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We'll go to the next one.
The next item was section 6.009, and it was just adding the section. Sheriff and DA use forfeiture funds for meal reimbursement. Follow all of the above procedures. Forfeiture funds will reimburse the general fund expenditure. It's just the addition.
And that came up because I believe the DA is using forfeiture funds, and we just realized it hadn't been in the handbook, so it's not referred to.
Morning, Brian. Do we have any discussion on that? No? All in favor, aye? By Jay?
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I didn't know, I wasn't sure we moved it.
No, that's it, you said. Is question when you moved it?
I was moving it.
Okay, yeah, Jay moved it. Jim will second it. Now is there any discussion? I apologize, I got ahead of myself. See no further discussion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So the document that was passed out this morning is the next section of the handbook. It did go out a little bit late with the changes that were in yellow. Since that time, we did review, and there are some other changes in blue. So I can start with the blue section. The strike through, we wanted to remove that portion and actually add the employee will be responsible for the health insurance contribution while out on disability, or the coverage will be terminated. It just makes it a little more clear in that sense. Well, if you want to discuss each or just go through them.
Let me go through the whole thing.
Okay.
I can discuss it, they tie in.
Okay. the next item is an employee receiving disability benefits may supplement the amount paid by disability with the following, either the remaining vacation and personal time that's accrued or any donated time in accordance with the vacation donation policy. And if any of the above time is utilized to supplement the employee's pay, no instance can the disability pay and supplemental hours produce more gross pay than is normally scheduled pay of the employee. Which means also T and on-call pay is not considered normally scheduled pay and will not be considered as normally scheduled pay. So that was pop up. Also, an employee may, with proper notice to the treasurer's office, direct that health or dental deductions be withheld from their disability or supplemental hours pay. So this addition was added due to the supplemental part of it, where they can actually supplement their pay with those benefits.
So
or vacation.
The old language restricted the employees' use of their vacations simply to cover their health insurance. It's recently come to our attention that the county by choice can allow employees to supplement because the disability pay is so low. The New York State Workers' Compensation Board actually allows us, elected us, to allow the employees to add additional hours to supplement that pay, should there be hours available so that they're not harmed financially. And what made it appropriate to talk about it now was the new vacation donation policy. So now if you're out on disability and you're out of time, people can donate their vacation hours to you. So that brought up a whole new world of, hey, we can actually use these donated hours to help these people financially while they're out on disabilities.
Even to pay their health insurance is what you're
So
saying.
that they can still choose to have their health insurance paid through these hours, but before it was restricted to only health insurance. Now we're allowing them, we don't want them to make money on disability, like, we don't want a full paycheck and the disability pay, but we can supplement them up to what their gross was before they went out.
Yep.
Significant change in what we're allowed to.
Is it only vacation donation or can other employees donate sick time?
So you can't donate sick time.
Okay, I just,
Yeah,
So,
And health and dental, were they considered doing life or vision in that, or it'd be just health and dental?
we have it in the past, Supervisor Clary, but I'm not closed-minded to it.
The vision's covered under the.
Yes.
Under the health,
It's
the
part of it.
visions included under health.
And
Yep.
and the change to life insurance, would that be thought about?
I think any deductions.
We have it in the past, but again, I'm not closed-minded to it. It's been traditionally limited to health and dental. And the health includes, your vision piece is in your health premium, so that's already rolled in. We traditionally don't allow the voluntary deduction stuff, like life insurance, Aflac, those things, because those companies will direct bill you while you're out.
So why would we do that? I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it more difficult, but why do we do that? So the employee's getting a full paycheck, right? Whether they have leave time or they have donated time. Why would we not allow them to pay their normal deductions out of that amount?
So the hurdle administratively, and this is a selfish answer, and I'm gonna give it anyway. The employee isn't guaranteed supplemental hours every time,
Right?
so I can't know that you're gonna cover it this time, not cover it this time. I can't on a payroll by payroll know if you're going to make your deductions. You're either gonna make them or you're not, right? So the vacation donation program is structured in such that you might have 8 hours this time and 0 next time. In which case, now we've got to go after the employee for a bill we've already paid. So administratively, the voluntary things have traditionally been a problem. Again, I'm not claiming to do it, but selfishly, I would not encourage
But
it.
really, it only comes into play if you are accepting donated vacation time.
Which
It's
isn't,
really
which
the only
isn't the
time.
norm.
It isn't the norm. Most
Right.
people have.
Most people
accrued
use
time.
their own time or just choose not to just let it ride.
Other than the detail, how much time per year out of our total time is on disability?
Administratively,
Yes, and compensation wise, like however many million hours of work.
so our our current process doesn't require a lot of man hours because we hire a third-party administrator. We contract with Benetech, which you'll actually see that contract discussed later today. We contract with a third party for our disability and workers' comp administration. So we're smart enough to know that there's people better at it than us, and we contract that out.
Right.
So internally, it's just us getting it into somebody's paycheck.
Yeah, I'm actually, that's good. Makes sense. I'm focusing on how many hours do we lose of production.
How many
to-
people are on disability?
So,
Per year. Wow. ballpark.
so you could have a year where there's only one employee, you could have a year where there's 18. It's not consistent, Supervisor. We had, I think it was 2 years ago, we had a rash of pregnancies, which, maternity leave falls under disability.
Really? That's.
There was more than the average, pregnancy, and I don't know if it was COVID related. I'm not gonna make that decision, but,
We know about that. And kids, right?
but it really, there's literally no consistent, measurement. You literally could have 2 to 22, there's no. Yeah.
Thanks.
Does that help, Charles?
Not really, but that's the answer.
Any other questions? So all in favor of changing this section 7.004 to read as you now have it? Say aye. Aye. Opposed?
We didn't have a motion, did we?
That's what Charlie was doing. We have a motion. Brian, we had discussion, yes, that was second. Okay, we got the second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, now that we're back in order. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed?
It is a nice day, so you're just able to slide that out there, right?
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring before the personnel committee at this point in time? Not? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, I'm gonna call finance to order. I need the motion to accept the January 9th minutes. So moved by Dick Stone, second by Charlie Tall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, county attorney, looks like you're up first.
Thank you. Just, I sent everybody a memo, I think the end of last week. I received by email last week, a certification for the, chairman to sign that says to be eligible for the waiver of local raise the age costs. County must adopt a budget that did not exceed the tax cap. But under the certification, it says, and if the governing body of local government did enact local auto tax limit that for the fiscal year that the law has been subsequently repealed. Well, we did pass that local law last year, so now we have to repeal it if we want to be eligible to get the waiver for the local share of raise the age costs. Even though our budget was underneath it at the time we did it.
I'm confused about this. At the time when we passed this local law, it was brought up, I think, by you or by Dan, that if we
There were
passed
things
this,
tied to it if we ever.
we would
if
lose
actually
money if we
overrode
did
it.
it. So we did it anyways, knowing we'd lose money. So now we're told we're gonna lose money.
Well,
I don't understand the logic of that whole process.
It's a state. I will say, I did have some communication because I said, look, our budget, even though we voted to override, our budget came in underneath. They don't give us any leeway. And first they said, well, that's up to you. I go, well, that doesn't answer my question because the chairman swearing to this, I need to make sure he doesn't swear to something that's not accurate. Then he said, you probably should do the repeal. And I also checked to see when we passed that local law pursuant to, as far as the order of when we passed the budget, because, for some of us, I know we kind of indicated it was more of a protest vote than anything else when we agreed to do it. I was hoping to make that argument, but unfortunately we passed the local law before we passed the budget. So just to make everything hunky-dory to be able to, and I said, I don't have an idea what the local share of the ACH costs are. I know they could be significant based on who we've had. We've had at least one kid in our ACH bed that is not cheap. This is why I would ask for the repeal. I mean, if we want to pay the local share, that's up to us. We don't have to repeal it. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew the rationale.
And just to add to that is you have to pass the local law in order to pass the budget that's over your out of bounds too. So we did it in the order you'd have to do it if you were gonna override that. But yeah, I'm glad we didn't.
But no, I wasn't done yet with this.
Okay.
My question is then, we sent a message was the purpose of this, right?
And they
What
sent them back.
message did we send that we're a bunch of country bumpkins and we don't care? Is that the message we sent?
It might be.
Well, I'm opposed to
I will,
changing it. I say we eat it if we wanted to do it. Let's eat it. I mean, if we're so
you
hard-headed,
wanna put that
that
on.
we've already spent $100. We've already spent $100 in advertising.
Well,
We gotta spend another $100 to advertise to do another local law.
the other issue is we can't.
I wanna send a message to the taxpayers that we are country bumpkins.
I would say that we
You're
won't
gonna
get
put
any
it on their
payments for
bill.
2025 until.
People who voted for it, put it on the bill. Not everybody voted for it.
No, I didn't vote for it either, but I'm just saying that I don't know that you wanna put $100,000 on the tax bill to prove a point.
It's a symbolic vote. We gotta stop doing it. No, symbolic votes. It's just stupid. We gotta stop doing that crap.
I'm only trying to make a point here. I'm really not gonna, but I want this to stand out, that from now on, let's really think things out and what's best for the taxpayers.
That's good, because we're gonna discuss policies in a few minutes. That'll be a good time.
You threw out the number of 100,000, Brian, is that inaccurate? Because it's fluid, right? You can change it any minute.
Oh, yeah, it could be $500,000 or $1 million. 100,000 might be on the cheap end. No, you have no idea what the numbers, that's what I mean. I'd pay the $100 to make sure I got out of it.
So 2024 was about how much?
I don't have that.
I don't have the number.
$100 to make sure
We
we got
had
into
one
it.
kid in OCFS custody for quite a while.
So,
And we've
we
also
have to
had,
remember that words matter. And there's costs involved. And when we vote on something, is it as a pressure point, or are we really thinking things through? What's the cost to our taxpayers? We keep talking about budget and costs. I think we really need to be careful that when we enter into politics here at this table, there could be a cost, especially right now. So across all of our sheriff's cars are community first. We all sit here and do community first. That's why we're here. Okay, so we really need to be careful of getting involved in New York federal politics. Because right now we are representing all of our communities and we're gonna make sure that they're okay. This is one way. I mean, if this cost could go to more than 100,000, are we gonna eat that just because of wanting to stay burnt?
You must have voted down with me. Because of that cost, potential cost.
Yes, David. I can see your thought
Ah,
process.
So the probation cost alone was 82.9, and I don't know the DSS side. So yeah, there is a magnitude, but at the same time, you can't bury your head to the political side because that's what we have to fight. We have to fight to try to get the things we want. We have to be very cognizant of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's not like we can just be myopic and look out for our community. It would be like you came as your town and you voted against everything that didn't help your town, even if it didn't have any effect. You voted no. I mean, so you gotta, it's the complete picture we gotta look at.
That's my point.
All right, so bottom line is, this is probably my fault. And, you know, like apparently doing it from the town level is different, but from the county level, they wave a bigger stick. They just coming back and saying, look, we can thank you. I think something that we ought to take out of this is that this tax cap override is ridiculous. We can't ever do it for a county, on a county level. They can force us to stay under the tax cap. Because if we broke the tax cap, we'd have to break it by zillions to cover all the state aid they're not gonna give us. This is just them waving back and saying, yeah, well, guess what? We got a bigger stick than you do.
Yeah, this is the only
Is it-
real one
is
they
it-
have, but we have no idea what that number is gonna ever be.
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of state aid that come, they can hold back if we're over the tax cap. I think we talked about this when we did this time, because we might have to go over the tax cap, and if we had, we'd really be screwed, because then we wouldn't get any of this stuff. That's what they're saying. Pass it. You know, override law to help yourself if you really need to, and by the way, we'll squash you if you do. The word coming.
So instead of taking 4%, you gotta take 10, which just makes it uglier.
Right.
Sad position to be in. But that's-
We can't whack me with that.
Yeah. They can take your $500 and aid.
Right.
They've already taken everything. Most of it. Very good. So,
Did you move to repeal the?
I will second it though. And I also want to make the statement that I don't blame Bob. Bob, we're all adults here. You brought it up. I didn't agree with it, but I mean, there was a lot of people that followed right along with that without thinking it through.
no, I know it was brought
There
up
was a
at the
lot of
time that
mistakes
could.
I'd almost be willing to pass law that says we'll never override the tax cap, so we don't ever fall into the trap again.
Yeah, but that's only good until the very next resolution that overrides it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it does matter. You-
Yeah, I just like to say to Dan that we take a lot of things here that we vote on, and we all think them through. And just because we all don't come to the same decision doesn't mean we didn't think them through. And our thought pattern may be different than somebody else's. We have thought them through. So
I think.
I'm just saying that's a pretty bold statement to make.
We did not override it.
Yeah.
Hold back. And they said, oh, yeah, well, we can anyway. Basically what happened.
Yes, it was a question.
I believe there is, I mean, there was discussion on whether or not we would have to override the tax cap. We did have that discussion. If I understand it, there is a penalty if we go over the tax cap and don't have the law in place. And unfortunately, due to the waiting period, you kind of have to have the law in place while you're still hashing out the budget. So it's really not that you didn't think it through, if that's what some people think. Because you did make a conscious decision that there's a possibility we might not be able to stay under the tax cap. But yet there's a penalty if we do override it, but if you don't have the law in place, first there's a waiting period. So it's all like, they have you tripped up all the way. You have to have the law in place beforehand. So it's better to have it in place and then repeal it if you don't need it. But the way it's set up, you have to have it in place before you pass the budget if you're gonna override.
What's even worse is they changed the rules on the cap from when they first started it. You can be over the cap and not even know it because the rules keep changing, so you gotta keep track of the rules.
I think that the point here is that that's exactly right. The rules have changed. So you can't override the tax cap, whether you just go over it or whether you pass laws and say you can't go over it. They're still gonna do exactly the same thing to you, no matter which it does. So they're essentially forcing you into a box.
The way the state was.
It's been mentioned here a lot, so I need a little help here. What's it cost us if we don't override the tax cap and we pass a budget higher than the
You
tax?
just have to keep a certain amount in escrow.
So there's no cost other than you have to set it over in escrow. There's no cost whatsoever.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
lose
can't
the-
spend that money.
Not paying the state aid thing.
Well, that,
No, I
that's a
thought
whole
that-
different question. I don't know if that's true, Dan. If you didn't override the cap, but you were over the cap, how does that play in?
I think.
You still lose the aid.
Right.
You would think,
Any override costs you raise the age.
but I can tell you from experience that it's like the traffic cop. If you're speeding and they don't notice, that's your new cab number.
That's up to.
Which is very weird to me. So that's, yeah, very interesting. So we have a motion to move the repeal,
Basically, it's just.
set the public hearing to. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. Very good. Got everything you need for that. Okay, we're on to real property. Let's see.
Okay, so we have some corrected tax bills. One of them is under the 1,500. So that just needs to come. And then we have 3 more. That are more than $1,500. Let's go through the board
That's resolution. So the first one we just did on the repealing is, resolution A. This is resolution D right here. I need a motion for resolution B. By Sam, second by Dave, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Short and sweet, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, treasurer.
Will be short and sweet. We'll have all kinds of fun coming up later in this meeting.
Where's it gonna be positive?
Sorry,
It's gonna be positive too?
Huge
I'm
positive.
gonna start
today.
positive and end negative. You okay with that? So the first sales tax deposit for 2025 was up $362,000 over last year, which was $120,000 over the year before. So, and in order for the second deposit, so the first one is the estimate, the second one is the true up. In order for the true up to hurt us, the sales tax deposit would have to be 0, which is not realistic. So chances are, most if not all of this surplus from the first deposit will stand. There's no scenario where we get 0 sales tax in the deposit. Never seen that. I can't imagine it even being possible. Whether our trend is staying strong or whether we're getting ready to start that downhill slide, I can't tell you. I did notice that gas prices unfortunately went the direction I didn't think they were going. So God only knows where the sales tax is going. Remember too, that there are some new items coming down the pike that will help sales tax. The short-term rental law that's going to take effect officially September of 2025. That's going to generate both sales tax and occupancy tax for the county. And
Will we be ready by then though? There's a lot of work for us to be ready for that to happen,
all we
right?
got to do to be ready is get the registry set. We'll be fine.
Right.
We'll be fine. Yeah, and what you're gonna hear more about that at government ops, because we're probably, again, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, but you might need to know the smartest guy in the room. So there are systems available already that we can just, there's no sense for us recreating the wheel. There are programs that you'll see at committee that will run by you and you'll be able to select something that actually manages that for us without a huge burden on any staff.
Very good.
There's also, we're seeing more licenses for the adult use cannabis pop up. We recently had a report from the licensed dispensary in the village of Hudson Falls. The number was larger than I would have ever anticipated. So again, those licensed dispensaries are generating sales tax and they're also generating a fee that comes back to the host communities. where the county gets 25% and the host community gets 75%. When the dispensaries in a village, if the town has not opted out, the village and the town split the 75%. If the dispensary is in a village and the town has opted out, the village keeps all of it. But those monies are now coming in as well, so the county sees additional sales tax, the county sees a little bit of the additional fees that are passed along, and to some of the villages, it looks like it could be a significant game changer. Now, whether those monies are enough to cover all of the social anomalies that come along with those, I'm not gonna make that judgment call. I'm just giving you the fiscal side of things. There are some things coming in 25 that weren't here before. So it's hard to project where this number will go, because we know that we're getting hit with some businesses leaving the county. And whether some of these replacement revenues will replace what we lost, we won't know till we know. Remember, our number one driver in the county is still auto sales. And it's hard telling where that market's going. Even if we sell less, the vehicle cost has risen so much that you could do less volume and still get the same sales tax out. Cash balances I shared with you. And as far as the budget to actual, the report's in there for you, but we're not gonna spend a lot of time on it because this time of year, because our books are open until after the March audit, there's so much in place still. As you were warned at budget time, general fund will be showing a significant loss this year. But 3 million of that is surplus monies from 23 that was appropriated in 24. Right now, it looks like we're about $14 million lagging, but there's about $6 million in revenues that don't get booked until the year can be closed. So between the 6 that aren't booked yet and the 3 that are attributable to 2023, I can safely talk about, 9 of the 14, but that's still a $5 million loss. Unless there's something that hasn't come across my desk yet of a fairly substantial nature. While that's not the end of the world, we're in a position to absorb that loss. It's not sustainable, and we had that conversation at budget time, and we'll absolutely be having that conversation again for the 26 budget.
Yeah, our biggest concern right now is the overrun in sign council. And ESS, those are huge things that we need to find a way to avoid them if there's any way possible.
We know that 900,000 of that 5 million is attributable with just the assigned council office.
One that looks like it's getting bigger.
And they
They're
still
months
have,
behind.
and they still have 2 months of vouchers that they can process. So
It's a big concern.
it's a big concern.
And Mike's even suggested, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Dan, that because of Pharrell Herring we weren't gonna do any of this unless they paid. We wondered if we should send them a letter and say, hey, all of a sudden you're an extra $1 million. Should we just get sued again and find out where it goes? I have no idea on that. But Mike's willing to like say, hey, you're not living up to the settlement at this point. The settlement was all the extra costs you pay, and now you're not paying them. So you may,
your contracts increase.
right, so you may want to talk to Mike and see what we can come up with. I think it's well worth looking into. The state beat you in more ways than one, but this one here was a court settlement and they were gonna pay the actual increase and they're not, if we're getting that kind of a hit. So it's worth looking into. I don't know where we belong on that. It's good. Okay. We're on to the county administrator.
My first item is the Benetech contract renewal. So, as you may or may not know, we contract with Benetech to administer our disability, our workers' comp, and then they also are our health insurance broker. And that includes the broker services and the consulting and administrative services. So right now, the contract for the health insurance broker services is up for renewal. We entered into a 2-year agreement back in March of 2023. It expires the end of February 2025. In the existing contract, excuse me, we have the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year periods. So my request is going to be to go ahead and do that, request for those 2 additional 1-year periods. I think we're all pretty happy with their services. We meet regularly with them to try to keep us abreast of all information and all the changes with health insurance, which are rising costs all around. But I think as far as the broker services, I think Benetech has done a good job, and I think we'd like to extend that contract. So that's what I'm asking.
And so in that instance, it would be like December of 26 when we would go out for RFPs for that.
This would expire the end of 26.
Yes, so
Correct.
don't you have to?
No, thank you, February 27,
27.
27, sorry.
February 27.
Yeah.
So in December of 26, we'd have to go out for
Long
RFPs or
before that.
before that. That's what I mean. You need such a leeway to get started.
At that point, we can RFP or.
So like you're already too late for this. You'd have to go at least 1 year now, and the 2 years is probably better because
We're gonna have to pass some kind of short-term.
it's gonna take time to get there, right? And we worked hard to get them on the same year as everything else, right?
How was the cost calculated for the contract?
There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. There's the per contract, per month fee, which is included in that. Then there's also ACA administrative service fees. There's a COBRA administrative fee, FSA, which is the flexible spending account administrative fee, and the HRA.
So are those fixed numbers?
They're fluid every month. They're by member by month. So as our enrollment changes, the fee changes.
It's like,
Oh, it's with
Contracts.
it's based on enrollment, not
Yes.
usage.
Yes,
Right.
Right.
So
one of the unmeasurable things.
it
with
doesn't
the-
vary much because our enrollment doesn't
It changes.
vary that much other than what people off, either resigning or retiring.
people coming in, people going out.
Our
Right,
average is
so-
about 476 contracts.
So those are individual,
Yes.
and what, and this, how much is it per contract?
Right now, it's $12 per contract. It's going to go up to $12.24 per contract, and then the following year, it's $12.49. So it looks like from what we
20
calculated,
cents, 25 cents.
yeah, it's about $2,100 increase in 2025, and then the next year would be about a $4,400 increase.
So what's the total amount that they get last year?
109,907.
110,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we found out this year, Mr. Shaw, that's not quoted and it's kind of not measurable. Benetech has also stepped up and been an advocate for our employees. Several times, if we have claims problems or getting things covered through Highmark, Benetech has stepped up and taken a role of an advocate. And that's not something that's measurable in the contract or necessarily quantifiable in dollars, but that's a service that they've stepped up and jumped into that we haven't really had.
Well, it's just, I kind of want to know
Sure.
if you're getting renewals and increases, what kind of money we're talking. So,
Wasn't, Al, wasn't one of the things that they do for us is getting the drug refunds and kick it back to us too, where previous ones didn't do that, or?
Yeah.
Because we're
Right, well,
self-insured.
we didn't have the opportunity before because you have to be self-insured to get the rebates, but yes, they take care of monitoring all of that and
And that's a whole different game, and you have to know the nuances to play the game. And we're learning very slowly, but the one thing they do is they explain it all out. We're trying to find a program that actually either get the rebates or for the companies that supply the pharmaceutical to actually pay for it, so it's never on our bill, because that's an opportunity too. And yeah, your rebate won't be as big, but the money going out the door won't be, it'll be zilch on those cases. And you have to know how it works, and it's very complicated. And that's kind of where we're at.
So I just have a question. So we've got two options, 2 years we can option on this, correct?
Yes.
So, and I'm certainly gonna suppose this, I think you did a good job, I'm going to support it, what to say. But maybe next year, we don't have to take the option. So if we know when the option is coming up, would there be appropriate time before that to check with other companies to see what may have changed in the market that might have,
So we have the ability of ending our contract with Meditech. I believe it's like a 30-day
30 days,
notice.
30 days written notice.
30 days. But I mean, in my experience, in the years that I've been here, I think us choosing Benetech for those services has just been a huge improvement to what we may have had in the past. And we knew what we were getting into because they're already administer our disability and our workers' comp. So we've been very happy with those services. So we kind of went into this thinking we'd be okay with the health insurance, and I mean, I
and
can't
well,
complain.
I only asked that question not because it is, like I said, I'm gonna fully support this because I think you've done a great job in
Yes.
where we are now. But a year from now, we don't know we're gonna be there. So I guess my question is if we have the time to option, should we be asking for, if we have a time like now, we're coming here now because this ends the end of this month?
Yep.
Okay, so should we maybe next year, if things go sideways or it's not as nice as.
Oh, I would definitely let you know, and I'd want to discuss that. If things don't really go
Okay.
sideways, I think we want to break that contract and see what else is out
Okay.
there. There aren't a lot of options. We'll say that from previous RFPs we've done.
And there's bad options.
There are.
But I think because of the time frame that Al went to earlier, you're almost 2 years before you can get ready for the damn thing.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're coming with the 2 years, is because other words, you would have to start that this year
Yeah.
to not take the renewal for next year.
Right.
So that's kind of why the 2 years on the table to get us time to gear up, knowing that we have to go out for an RFP and do it then.
And honestly, what we've seen with the health insurance costs and those increases, the administrative services, I think are very fair. I mean, it's pretty slight.
Yeah, I agree. I was just asking the question. That was all.
Okay, we'll move it. Is there a second? Sam.
This renewal does not require a resolution.
Oh,
We have an existing contract, we're just adding on to it.
But we have to have a resolution to actually get into it.
No, the original resolution covers.
Covers it. I don't need the chairman's signature. I'm sorry, I
No, but
do,
we
but I
need-
don't need a resolution to do it.
We need a resolution in this committee, but it doesn't go to the full.
You just need to approve,
That's
approve
what
it
you're
here, that's
saying.
all we have to do.
So we still need to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Next, there
So
is
did we do 1 year or 2 years? Did we do 2 years?
do 1 year.
2 years.
2 years.
2 1 years, but it can be
Two
canceled
consecutive
with
1 year.
30 days notice.
Next, there was a bid that went out for milk, and the milk is used at the jail and through the nutrition program. So the award, I guess, is to Sickaway Creamery out of Troy, New York. And I'm just looking to award that bid for the sheriff's office.
Moved by Dave, second by James. Any discussion?
yeah, do we have anybody in the county that applied, you know, put a bid in?
I'm sorry, do we have
Do we
any?
have anybody in the county put a bid in? Just curious.
We did, but they did not give all the information that was necessary for the bid.
Were there
So the
bid,
lowest bidder was Sickaway.
so it didn't even beat out the local
Correct.
without the information?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And last year, I believe the milk came to about 40,000, so it is less than the $50,000 limit, so this doesn't require a board resolution either.
Moved by Sam, second by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Um, Not that I want to change the vote, but I'd like to ask this question. How close was the one locally?
How close was the local?
Well, it wasn't, they didn't include all the information. so
Right,
we
let's
didn't
forget
compare.
that part of it. I'm just saying that,
We have a fair
were they
comparison.
close?
I used to follow these 30 years ago because it was interesting being in the milk business. It's always so damn cheap that it's hard to make it happen. I don't even know if Hogan's ever got the bid. I don't know that they did. You can't compete with that level.
It wasn't bothering the county. It wasn't bothering the county, correct?
I believe right at the moment. Well, they're not even in the county.
Back then.
All bad kill and then maybe. About one for the chief.
Okay, almost gonna get an answer here.
So the comparison I can give you, is Sickaway for 1 gallon of milk in a plastic container is $4.19. The other bid was from Glens Falls Produce, that was $4.49. And then Instant Whip Eastern out of Scotia was $4.39.
So you're only counting Glens Falls as the only local one?
I
There
would.
wasn't anyone
I think
though in
they're
the
the
county
closest.
though, I think that's what he was
No,
asking.
not
So
in
no
the
one
county.
from the county
Glens
actually
Falls.
bid.
I don't think any of them.
No, I'm not sure that any of them
Like
bought.
packaging, like the-
Yeah, they're just buying it.
None of them packaging.
Right, Glen Falls
You
Produce.
have to go for the, like an actual farm package. That I know of.
You like to, yeah, we can do that now.
Yeah, there's no way to throw out, right?
Bid on.
We're good.
You think so?
Okay, motion for executive session.
Motion executive session. So record be going to executive session for collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.